to ensure your digestive health. Number two, water. These microbiomes need water, so making sure that you have drinking plain water or infused water, infused with cucumber or fruit or lemon or raspberries, strawberries, mango, would be a good thing. Yesterday I infused my water with mango and piece of ginger, and then at the end in the night what I did, I blended that whole thing and turned it into a like a sarbat, without any sugar, and it was a very refreshing drink. So try to be creative. I think this coronavirus has really given us an opportunity to take a pause and be mindful and take a step back and see what needs to be, what can be done. I mean, just to reflect back and see why and how we got here. Okay, it's our irresponsibility on some level. We have abused planet and have become quite a bit of careless. So try to be creative. That would be my second suggestion about making your immunity strong as well, because once you understand how important your digestive health is, you will start identifying factors that are affecting it. And that is called, when I say mindfulness, that is what I mean, is become aware that, hey, whatever I'm eating, is it making me prone or making me prevent? So that's how you're going to navigate through your thoughts about whether the food that you are eating is making you stronger or weaker. Now the so the next topic that I'm going to get into is about impulsive eating. Okay, and impulsive eating, I'm going to address that more initially from public health dietitian's perspective, because I do a lot of work in public health and community health, so on and so forth. And I feel that it's our social responsibility right now to look at all these things and say, hey, what can we do collectively to spread this message of health and wellness? Because impulsive eating, I'm noticing, is happening because people have shopped for a lot of wrong things, I think. But if you don't shop for sugar and oil and white flour, half of the recipes that are being shared on WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever, Facebook, won't exist. Because what's happening is those platforms have these recipes posted on it, and that has a ripple effect, and then people feel compelled to make something on their own, which is not so healthy, and so we are going in opposite direction. So instead of focusing on making our immune system or our body healthy by sharing the recipes which are unhealthy, we are just moving away from our mission here. So in order to control impulsive eating, number one is not have the ingredients around you. Secondly, planning is everything. Impulsive eating happens when you haven't planned, and suddenly it's time for your snack or your lunch or your dinner. And if you're standing in the kitchen and wondering, oh my God, what am I going to eat? Your brain, no matter how well trained it is not going to think rationally. Okay, hungry brain can never think rationally. You have to plan 2 meals ahead. That's how much ahead of the game you need to be. So for lunch, if I should know what am I going to eat for lunch for sure, I should also know what I'm going to eat for dinner tonight. And while I'm eating those meals, I should at least start thinking about my next 2 meals, okay, whatever those meals or those snacks could be. And either through, just writing things down, or making sure that you have all the staples in your pantry, you can really plan your meals. So planning is extremely important. Don't start thinking about uh, what you're going to eat for snack when you are hungry for snack. You have to start thinking about that in the morning. Put it out in on your table. Hey, today I'm for snack, I'm going to have a pear and maybe a spoonful of peanut butter, maybe some, so it's like a churmuret's a chivda, or maybe a muthia or something. And that's how it is done. Okay. Or definitely plan your meals. If you plan one, technically just cook one meal, because you can get a leftover out of that meal. But planning is important. So making list, staying organized, uh, is extremely important to avoid impulsive eating. The other kind of a trick to not fall into impulsive eating trap is to really ask yourself, do I really need this? Am I eating or am I nourishing? Because there is a difference between eating and nourishing. Nourishing leads to satisfaction. After you eat nourishing snack, uh, let's say maybe some chia pudding, okay, you don't feel like eating a big bowl of chia pudding. You eat half a cup with some fruit and you are satisfied. You try to use the same amount, same logic for a for let's say for ice cream. Try eating small scoop of ice cream, you will feel like eating more ice cream, because there was really nothing nourishing about it. Chia pudding gave you fiber, chia pudding gave you healthy fat, which really, you fed your microbiome, you fed the guys which are in your digestive system to do their job, which is to balance your hormones, stabilize them, and work on your metabolism. Versus ice cream, you just gave your system fat and sugar, no fiber, and the cycle continues. So making simple changes like that will help you get on the road to become more mindful and getting your digestive system and your overall health on the right track. So going back to the social responsibility for, and about making recipes and creating recipes, I think Together We Can platform and their YouTube channel is a phenomenal opportunity that has been presented to us by Vidya and Sulakshana here, to start a really serious and mindful conversation about health and wellness and nutrition and self-care. And I know together we can, and together we should start paying and addressing these issues, because it's extremely painful for me to see patients with stroke, with diabetes, with heart disease, and not to scare anyone here, but I'm seeing more and more younger and younger Asian Indian kids with these chronic diseases, which is painful. Uh, the diseases that they should not be getting until they are 70, 80 years old, they are getting it in their early 20s. Some are just 10 years old. So we control, kids are watching us, our friends are watching us, our neighbors are watching us. We all are social animals, part of this ecosystem. What we eat, how we eat, uh, really will affect you and your and a society as a whole. One barrier that people always mention to me, oh, but my spouse doesn't like to eat healthy, or my kids are picky, so on and so forth. I say start with one change. Okay, start with one change. Start making that change in yourself first, and then everybody will follow. You don't have to announce, hey, from today onwards we are going to eat 50 grams of fiber every day. Don't say that. Just start making simple changes to your recipes, and there will be a ripple effect, because you will start to feel better. You will start to have more energy. You will just feel lighter. So your body, how our body tells us when we are not feeling well, our body also tells us when we are feeling well. Okay, and by paying attention to your gut health, your digestive health, will help you with becoming more mindful, because it will reduce some of the mental fog that you may have. So on that note, I just want to let you know that there is a recipe that I have created. It's a dry fruit burfi and vegetable muthia chaat recipe that you can download from the website nutritionistdeepa.com, and then make sure to watch or share this episode on the newly launched YouTube channel by Vidya and Sulakshana, Together We Can. And I know together we can, together we will. And I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Deepa. And while your session was on, I told people, like all the audience, to type the questions in the group chat. So I
Okay.
one by one. So like everyone can keep the mics mute only. So first question is from Shraddha B. Shraddha,
Okay.
please tell us about the hot water and kadha, which we are hearing everywhere now.
Okay. So kadha is basically a tea that we make using different kinds of herbs and spices. I mean, there are many kadha recipes, but predominantly they are a mix of cumin and coriander, maybe mint or basil and cinnamon, cloves, all those type of things. So kadha is not going to hurt anybody, okay, unless some people are sensitive to spices. But if you're taking kadha in the morning or whenever you take it and end up having samosa with chai, that kadha is not going to rescue you. Okay, so kadha is just one component, is one part of the puzzle here. So kadha will work tremendously well if your diet is equally clean or equally nutrient dense, because spices offer tremendous amount of health benefits. Where we are going wrong with spices is in application side. Frying those spices in oil, uh, putting lot of fodni on everything. So that's about kadha. I mean, kadha itself is a very good idea, but like I said, it needs to be part of a clean diet or other nutrient dense foods.
And hot water?
Hot water, same thing. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
the magic key, but again, if you are like a lot of people I've seen, they will eat gulab jamun and will say, oh, the fat bothers my throat, so I'm going to drink hot water. So again, it's really it's like you have to see where that food fits in that context, in what context. Because if there was, trust me, if there was one food that was a miracle food, the game would be over. I mean, this whole thing comes down to lifestyle change.
Okay, so next question is from Dipali, that apple cider vinegar consumption on regular basis, is it beneficial?
Apple cider consumption is there is some research to support that it helps with the blood sugar levels when taken on a daily basis. It helps with it helps aid digestion. In fact, not